Transformers, the movie, studio series, Ultra Magnus. I must admit, I was a little cool on it when we first saw it, but the hype is real, my dudes. Alright, well, let's get into it, shall we? Let's just crack him open, if I can. Why? What's going on? Damn it! Open! Listen, I know that as a feature this has been relatively, controversial amongst the fandom. And let's be real, it is a pretty defining Magnus moment, right? When this happens. It's kind of, one of the main plot devices that he loses the Matrix this way.
Right, George Chemo Sabis, your smashed up friends soon like brand new with 90-day warranty.
So whilst these fine junkions set about their task, what do you say we take a second to talk about all things Magnus? Most of us were introduced to Magnus via the '86 movie, where he's part of the new cast to refresh toy shelves with exciting new produce. What makes Magnus pretty interesting though is, despite having an initial design, he was actually one of the last Diaclone figures to get ported over. In fact, in a really early version of the trailer, he's still got those Delta Convoy colours. But the first time he actually appeared on screen was in bridging series Scramble City. So he actually popped up a couple of months early in Japan. Got to seasons 3 and 4. He managed to get a couple of spotlight episodes. He had a birthday. They sort of paired him off, the equivalent of Cyclonus. And then he appeared in the Japanese series of Headmasters, where they switched it up. Suddenly, it's him and Six-Shot. It was really quite sad when eventually Six-Shot, through his secret form trickery, actually managed to kill Magnus. What was really sweet is Metroplex was like, you know what? Don't bury him in the mausoleum. Bury him in a glass-topped casket on Earth so that, he can see the planet he loved. God, that was sad. A noble send-off for a noble dude.
Wait, he isn't dead!
He did eventually come back in the Japanese manga, so that's something.
Happy motoring!
Groovy indeed, my imposing friend. Just get a load of this guy, would you? How nice is that light piping? It actually works pretty well, I guess because he's wearing the Highwayman aviators. One thing that I'm finding quite impressive about the Studio Series 86 figures is the balance of toon flat surfaces versus surface detailing. I think they're striking just the perfect balance. Then the paint job is kind of, bold and austere enough that a lot of that surface detail recedes into the background until you really get up close into the nitty gritty of it all. Like we're gonna do. They've really done an exceptional job of picking out details based on that original toy. They've done an amazing job of color matching molded, poured pieces with painted plastic pieces. And Magnus head sculpts are always good, but this one's taking it to a whole new level.
The calendar was great because it gave people a chance to see a side of my versatility.
So when it comes to his articulation, there are some things that I love and some things that I don't super love. So this head is on a hinge and a ball joint, so he's the first Magnus that can actually look down on you. Can only see his eyes over his pecs thing is just so Magnus to me, and I love this figure can do it. It also means he can throw just so many different heroic looking angles.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees. Totally impractical. They all do it.
His arms can do the full way around on a really tight ratchet. In fact, that's one of my gripes with this figure. The ratchets on his arms are almost so tight that more often than not you'll untransform that arm than move it backwards. One element that I'm having a hard time getting on board with, articulation-wise, is the way these hinge up from there, so that they're barely connected. That just doesn't look right to me. I get that it's part of, his arms coming on and off, but maybe it could have concertinaed from somewhere, I don't know. It just doesn't seem very Commander class appropriate to me. As deep an elbow as his armaments will allow, he's got a really tight bicep swivel that on my copy initially made that arm pop off, and not in the intended way. The real articulation revolution that is happening here with these hands is that index finger is double jointed, and then his other 3 fingers are double jointed as well. That is, some fantastic Commander action. Blur! Get the Dinobots into the shuttle! Nice tight waist swivel. He does have a thigh swivel off of that kind of universal, but it is, you know, a little bit limited by how swolly he is, really.
Look at me! I'm Trunks! Please love me, Dad!
See, anyone can do it.
This piece of his waist does apron a little bit, but you don't actually super need it to get a full range forwards from his legs, and if you lift up that butt skirt all the way back. These hip skirts are also articulated, so he can actually get quite far out to the side for a big fella. That knee might, you know, at a push go just past 90, but only just, and you get just the tiniest, cutest little ankle tilt out of it. Nothing major. He's not wedging himself between two vans. He's not wearing jean shorts, but he can throw the shapes you need him to throw. Alright, so let's take a look at accessories and gimmickry. So I've already shown you up the top the die action that he has. What I haven't shown you is his super cool matrix bearer function. So just like in the movie, T comes up, bam. Spring-loaded matrix doors. When was the last time you saw a spring-loaded anything on a transformer? So how weird is it in the movie when he misplaces it before he gets it in there properly? I'm however yet to quite find a position where he can do more than just kind of gesture at the matrix. But Magnus, don't get too comfortable. Toasty! On top of that matrix action, you also get his toy gun and his somehow I'm going to use this to fix the ship gun. Then if you're not using his weapons, they do both firmly and safely tuck away. They've got these tabs, so the big one goes across his butt, and then his super counterintuitive ship fixing gun plugs in on his back, and that's pretty unobtrusive and looks quite cool. And let's face it just wouldn't be Magnus, would it, if he didn't come with his shoulder missiles. They are obviously detachable, but what's also cool is they're actually two pieces. That way, should you so desire, you're able to take off the, you know, the top pods, and bam! Style him out like he's just popped off. It is cool, but I do find myself wishing that they'd done some custom-y Magnus ones. Maybe something like came with Gigapower Swoop, where you get like both ends of the blast. That way you could have, you know, rocket plugged in one end and the trail of it coming out the other end. Kind of like they did with that Cyberverse Deluxe Starscream. That was a sick accessory. So before we move on to transformation, let's quickly peep him alongside some of his 86 buddies and some 86 baddies. That's really satisfying to behold. I swear, the 86 VHS, we must have worn out the copy at our local video store. This period to me is Transformers. Quick side note, has anyone seen the alternative storyboards for the scene where Galvatron and the Sweeps take out Magnus?
I want the Matrix. Never.
Alright, so let's set about the Herculean task of turning this guy from robot to car carrier, shall we? Open. Extend. Close. Clips up. Head back. Chest pop. Flip it up. Then, arms back, arms out, arms back, arms out. Clip into clip. Up. Tab to port. Smokestacks up. Fold out the cab. Whole thing up. Flip out the wheels, peg in the cab. That all clips together very nicely. Then we want to flip out these bottom wheels, ratchet up the legs, and tab them together. Push the head down, cover it with that plate, hold this piece down, twist this piece up, fold the belt away. So this next bit's actually a little bit of a tricky one. What they want you to do is hinge down the knees on this double hinge back here, so that then you can fold them up and they sit just the tiniest bit shallower. You'll know you've done it properly if you're then able to get this tab here up into there to sit, making that a nice flush surface. From here, you're going to want to extend out the arms and fold these little bits in, hold them in place. Fold the arms around. What we can do then is flip this piece up and over. Then down here, you want to open these couplings up and shuffle them down. Once you fold it up, you'll see that these have got pieces to tab in tidily there. And a series of tabs and pegs and clips and holes to stick this end together. On the inside here, you'll see these little space fillers that flip out. Yeah, I know. Space filling panels on a mainline release. Then, if you just fold that piece up, bring it around, that'll help tab in there and hold all this together. Lastly, with this Magnus head, if you clip it just right, those little tabs should hug his face. I don't actually like messing with them too much because I don't really want to mess with his head like that. So you can have it firmly attached like this, or if you pull that forward, you can actually get a turning circle out of this bad boy. Also, what's quite cool, you can actually detach the cab if you wanted to, like a real car carrier. How stressful is that, to drive your head off separately from your body? For that chunk of robot to fold into this cleanly, pretty tidy. And you know what? I think my favorite feature might actually be the fact that he's a car carrier. Bring out your dad! You can even unclip and bend those arms for an actual, you know, up on top car carrying. It's like what the old one done did. God, is there anything he can't do? How incredibly satisfying is that? He's a car carrier that actually carries cars. The games you could have with that play pattern. You can make him pick up cars. You can make him drop off cars. And by way of a quick comparison, here he is alongside Siege Ultra Magnus, primarily because he was already in vehicle mode. The fact that he's a car carrier that actually carries cars, you really can't beat it. So there are literally like a dozen Ultra Magnus figures nowadays for us to be able to make comparisons with. He hadn't really been a part of the franchise for a really long time. I think Animated brought him back, wasn't it?
I've come to make amends. You have? Yes, and I'm sorry. I didn't have to be jealous.
And then he got to be everywhere again, especially in the IDW comics. And whilst each Magnus has, like, you know, improved on aspects from our beloved G1 all the way to now, each one has been like, yeah, this is a really good Magnus. It looks like Magnus, it looks the part. But I hadn't realized it until I got this new Commander class Magnus, that about each of them there was something that just didn't feel Magnus. G1 Magnus has the nostalgia. He's the beating heart of the character. Lost Light Magnus had the look. He's got that City Commander beef. Masterpiece has that cartoon flavour we've been craving, but he looks much more season 3-4 of the show than he does 86 movie. I honestly thought that Kingdom was going to be it. It wasn't until seeing him alongside Commander Magnus that I realised he was not it.
But now, I'm not legit. I'm unlegit. And for that reason, I must quit.
So whilst this Commander class Magnus, you know, there's things that people will probably change, there's things about it that aren't perfect, but I think for me, in a very real way, this is the first time I've really felt what Magnus means to me as a character, fully realized in plastic like this. This Magnus has it all. He hits the nostalgia, he's got that cartoon look, he's got the chunk, he's got the modern form and functionality. So how do y'all feel about this Magnus opus? Are you as overjoyed with this figure as I am? Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what y'all think. Let's get nerdy with it.